Welcome to the deep dive. So, our mission here is always to take these, well, seemingly unconnected high stakes sources, articles, research, sometimes dispatches right from the front lines, and really try to pull out the underlying threads, the strategy, the conflict, the consequences.
That's right. And today, it feels like we're zeroing in on moments where the stakes are just, they're existential, where efficiency becomes paramount and every single action is this calculated move for survival or profit or sometimes just sheer dominance.
Yeah, calculation is definitely the word. We're looking at everything from, the brutal logic of organized crime and geopolitical conflict.
All the way to the incredibly specific and lethal strategies of apex predators in the ocean. It's a fascinating spread.
It really is. We've got some compelling material. The
Yes.
deadly political violence down in Michoacan, Mexico. Then there's this revolutionary, almost gamified system of warfare being used in Ukraine.
And the survival tactics of Orcas, which are just mind-blowing. Plus, we'll touch on a couple of updates on some significant human drama stories.
Okay, quite a bit to get through. Let's dive in. So we start with this really horrific event, the public killing of Uruapan Mayor Carlos Alberto Manzo Rodriguez. He was shot, gunned down during the Day of the Dead festivities.
Right in the town's historic center. I mean, that's not some hidden attack. It's incredibly brazen.
Totally theatrical. It sends a clear message.
And the location itself, Michoacan, I mean, it's consistently reported as one of Mexico's most violent states. It's just this constant grinding battleground for cartels fighting over territory.
And specifically in Uruapan, it's about controlling the avocado trade, right?
Right.
That incredibly lucrative industry.
Green gold. And the details of the actual attack, they really highlight that organized crime element. He was shot 7 times, unidentified attacker.
But the weapon,
Yes. Forensics linked the weapon used directly to 2 separate armed clashes between rival criminal groups just recently in that same area.
so definitely not random, not a crime of passion. This was like a strategic hit using resources from ongoing fights.
Precisely. And the victim's profile, Manzo Rodriguez, that makes it even more significant, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, he wasn't just any politician. He was a former legislator,
Wow.
won the mayoral office with an independent movement, and he had this nickname.
Oh, yeah, the Mexican Bukele.
Right, referencing, the tough-on-crime president of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele. So, targeting him.
It's symbolic. You take out the guy known for wanting tough security in the most public way possible to basically say, look, no amount of security, no political will can stop us.
And he clearly knew the risks. He'd been under protection since, December 2024.
Yeah, and they reinforced his security back in May. Municipal police, even 14 National Guard officers.
And yet, it didn't matter. Those layers of protection, federal and local, completely failed.
Which brings up this whole question of political calculation, doesn't it? Because
Yeah.
Manzo Rodriguez, he wasn't quiet. He'd publicly appealed to President Sheinbaum for federal help.
And crucially, he accused the state governor, Alfredo Ramirez Bedolla, who's pro-government, and the state police, accused them of corruption, publicly.
That's a huge risk. Why do that?
Well, it suggests a desperate calculation, right? That the political risk of speaking out, maybe hoping for federal backup, seemed less dangerous than the physical risk of just staying quiet and trying to somehow navigate a system he believes was compromised.
A calculation that obviously tragically backfired.
Horrifically so.
Mhm.
And the public reaction, that funeral procession, hundreds of people, all in black, chanting, "Justice, justice," out with Morena.
Yeah, the source mentioned this incredibly striking image, a man leading the mayor's black horse, his hat on the saddle.
Mariachi musicians playing, all while dozens of police and military are guarding the streets. It's just,
Yeah,
wow.
It really captures that tension, the calculated violence of the cartels versus this raw, spontaneous political defiance from the community.
And it's not an isolated thing either. This follows the killing of another mayor, Salvador Bastidas, back in June. And a journalist, Mauricio Cruz Solis, was shot in October, right after interviewing Manzo Rodriguez.
So the pattern seems clear. Target anyone trying to establish some kind of independent control or reporting.
Exactly. Anyone challenging the established violent order.
Okay, let's shift gears now from that sort of analog calculus of political terror, assassinations, to something incredibly digital and explicit being refined in Ukraine. We're talking about the Army of Drones bonus system.
Right. It's quite something. It basically takes the whole military incentive structure and flips it using gamification. It treats warfare almost like a highly measurable efficiency problem.
How does it work? Exactly.
Soldiers, or rather drone units, they achieve confirmed strikes and they get points. It literally puts a point value on battlefield success.
And these points are like currency.
Pretty much. Strategic currency. They can immediately trade these points for new kit drones, autonomous vehicles, you name it, through an online store called Brave One.
The Amazon for War, as it's been called.
That's one. Over 100 items listed. And the scale of this thing, it's exploding. The sources say around 400 drone units are competing now.
Yeah, up from just 95 back in August. That's rapid growth. And the claimed results are, well, pretty staggering. 18,000 Russian casualties attributed to the system in September alone.
It's incredible. But let's get into the point values, because that's where the strategic calculation becomes just totally explicit.
Okay.
So, for instance, they actually doubled the points for killing enemy infantry from 6 to 12 points. That reflects, changing needs on the ground.
Okay, so infantry's more valuable now, point-wise. What else?
Well, taking out an enemy drone operator, that gets you 25 points. Shows how crucial neutralizing the other side's drone capability is.
Makes sense. But the highest value, that tells a story, doesn't it?
It really does. Using a drone to actually capture a Russian soldier alive nets 120 points.
120. Wow.
Yeah. That huge reward just screams how badly they need prisoners of war, likely for exchanges, maybe intelligence.
So the system directly incentivizes capture over kill in that specific scenario because the strategic value, the point value, is so much higher.
Exactly. It weights every possible action based on its immediate utility to the bigger strategic picture. It's quite cold, really.
It does sound cold. I mean, isn't there a psychological impact treating combat like a video game leaderboard?
Well, that's the interesting part about the mindset. Ukraine's first deputy prime minister, Mikhailo Fedorov, he describes setting these points as, and I quote, pretty much emotionless, just technical work to boost effectiveness.
Right. For the planners, it's a math problem. Maximize the output.
And that approach yields a massive side benefit. Data. Huge amounts of data. Because to claim points, you need video confirmation of the strike.
Ah, okay. So every successful mission generates proof.
Precisely. And that constant flow of video data helps Ukraine get, as one source put it, a better grasp of the mathematics of war. They can see almost instantly what targets, what drones, what tactics are yielding the best results, the highest point return.
And it's driving innovation too, right? Like this Uber targeting.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Reconnaissance units basically just drop a pin on a map, precisely targeting something, and then a strike drone from a different unit comes in for the hit. It automates that coordination.
And they're even using AI.
Partly, yeah.
Okay.
Incentivizing drones, where AI helps recommend targets or controls the final critical trajectory for pinpoint accuracy.
It sounds incredibly effective, almost revolutionary. But I imagine there's debate around this.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
While it's clearly working for Ukraine in their specific context, you have analysts like those at the Royal United Services Institute warning NATO not to just copy and paste this approach. They point to Russia's formidable air defenses against drones, suggesting maybe this hyper-focus on drones is effective now, but might not be the whole answer long-term. They argue for, maybe needing a renewed focus on conventional artillery, traditional air power as well.
So the calculation itself is dynamic. It could change.
Constantly changing, yeah.
Okay. Let's shift focus again from the digitized battlefield to maybe the oldest battlefield on Earth.
Oh.
The ocean. We're looking now at orcas, specifically the Moctezuma's pod in the Gulf of California.
And their hunting intelligence, which is just remarkable. There's this new study documenting them hunting juvenile great white sharks.
Right, but not just hunting them generally.
No, specifically targeting them to eat their livers.
Just the livers. Why?
Because they are incredibly energy-packed, highly nutritious, high in calories. It's like a calculated extraction of the most valuable part.
Okay, that's specific. And the technique they use, that's the really clever part, isn't it?
It really is. They hunt collaboratively, groups of about 5 orcas working together. And the core strategy, the key maneuver,
is flipping the shark.
Exactly. They work as a team to physically roll the great white onto its back.
And that triggers something. Tonic immobility. What is that exactly?
Yeah, tonic immobility. It's basically a temporary neurological state in sharks. When they're flipped upside down, they enter this kind of trance. They become completely limp, unresponsive, essentially paralyzed for a short time.
Wow. So they make the shark helpless before they even attack.
Precisely. It minimizes the risk to the orcas dramatically. They don't have to deal with a struggling, biting, powerful predator. They induce this paralysis, and then they can carefully, precisely access and remove that energy-rich liver.
That's not just hunting. That's strategic biological manipulation. It seems incredibly intelligent compared to just, overpowering prey.
It absolutely is. It's about minimizing risk through applied knowledge and teamwork. You contrast that with, say, the more brute force methods some other killer whale populations use. This requires synchronization, cooperation, and understanding a very specific weakness.
And it's learned behavior, right? Not just instinct.
That's what the researchers emphasize. Eric Higuera-Rivas, one of the study's co-authors, called it a testament to their advanced intelligence, strategic thinking, and this sophisticated social learning passed down through generations within the pod.
So they teach each other this technique. Wow.
Yeah. And the thinking is that these juvenile great whites, maybe they're a bit more naive, less experienced with orcas than the adults, they might be a seasonal bonus to the diet.
Like changing ocean conditions bring them into contact more often?
Potentially. Things like El Niño events might be shifting where these young sharks hang out, their nursery areas, bringing them into the Gulf of California where this particular pod operates. So it's this opportunistic but still highly calculated feeding strategy.
All right, let's bring things back to the human realm for a couple of updates. We've been talking about calculated risks, strategic moves. Let's start with that awful stabbing incident on the LNER train between Peterborough and London.
Yeah, a really harrowing event. And here, the strategy, if you can call it that, was pure human reaction, wasn't it? The police confirmed that the LNER staff member who stepped in
To stop the attacker, yeah.
was nothing short of heroic. They explicitly said he undoubtedly saved people's lives. Just incredible bravery.
But tragically, he's still in life-threatening condition.
Yes, really awful outcome for him. The police seem confident they have the suspect, a 32-year-old man from Peterborough. They found a knife.
They've ruled out terrorism, motive still unknown. But they're increasing police presence at major stations now.
Yeah, a surge in police presence expected at places like London, Birmingham, Leeds, York, Manchester. Just reassuring the public, I suppose.
It's such a stark contrast, isn't it? That spontaneous, incredibly high-risk heroism versus the cold calculations we were just discussing.
Absolutely. And our final update also touches on calculation, but from a different angle. It concerns Viswash Kumar Ramesh.
He was the sole survivor of that recent Air India crash.
That's right. And the situation now is, well, it's become a kind of strategic battle itself. He initially accepted an interim compensation offer from Air India, about £21,500.
Right.
But his advisors are now saying that's completely inadequate. His family's fishing business collapsed after the crash. The long-term impacts are huge.
And Air India isn't engaging.
Apparently not. Air India, which is owned by the huge Tata Group, has reportedly ignored or turned down 3 invitations from his family to meet and discuss the situation properly.
So the family felt forced to go public, appeal through the media.
Exactly. Looks like a corporate calculation, perhaps.
Yeah.
Minimize the initial payout, avoid further engagement, versus the survivor having to adopt a public pressure strategy just to get them to the table.
Yeah.
It's a tough situation. Hashtag tag outro.
So we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, from cartel violence over avocados to militaries literally scoring points for kills, to killer whales collaborating to perform, well, basically surgery on sharks.
Yeah, and the thread connecting it all, as we said at the start, is this intense pressure, this environment where strategic calculation becomes, well, everything. Survival, profit, power, efficiency.
We saw it explicitly in Ukraine, right? Treating war almost like a math problem to be optimized.
We saw the Orcas using biological knowledge as leverage to make a dangerous hunt safer and more efficient. And in Michoacan, political murder used as a cold, calculated tool to sow chaos and maintain dominance.
So thinking about all this, if we measure intelligence, whether it's human or animal, by the ability to apply strategy to achieve a goal, here's maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to mull over.
What happens when that undeniable efficiency, that cold calculus we've seen, runs up against the messy, the unquantifiable reality of human cost, or even just, well, life itself?
Yeah. When a system is designed purely for efficiency or profit, how do you possibly account for something like the spontaneous heroism on that train, or the raw political defiance of those mourners in Europen?
Or even just the desperate plea of a crash survivor whose life doesn't really fit neatly onto a corporate risk assessment spreadsheet. Where does the uncalculated human element fit in?
Something to think about.
Definitely. Until our next deep dive, thank you for joining us.